Something is shifting. You may not be able to name it yet. It might feel like a low hum beneath your chest. Not quite sadness, not quite anxiety. Just something. A strange heaviness in your limbs when you wake up. A moment in the middle of an ordinary Tuesday where you suddenly think of them, and the thought lands differently than it did last week. Heavier or maybe lighter, which somehow feels just as unsettling. You might feel unusually tired or strangely clear, maybe both at once, which makes no sense, but here you are. If you're here, watching this, I want you to know what you're feeling is real. It doesn't need a perfect explanation right now. It doesn't need to be decoded into a prediction or a sign or a countdown to something. It just needs to be felt and understood on your own terms. The waning moon phase that begins today is one of the most quietly powerful periods in any lunar cycle. Not because the universe is sending you a dramatic message, but because this particular phase has a way of stripping things back, pulling away the noise, and when things get quieter around you, the things you've been carrying, the longing, the questions, the unfinished emotional business, they tend to rise to the surface. So let's talk about that, honestly, without promise, without theatre. There's a reason deep soul connections, and I use that phrase carefully because I know it means something personal and specific to every person watching this. There's a reason those connections tend to surface emotionally during this part of the lunar cycle. It's not magic in the dramatic sense. It's quieter than that. The waning moon is, at its core, a phase of release. In nature, in biology, in human psychology, there are rhythms of expansion and rhythms of contraction. The waxing moon pulls things outward, energy, intention, desire, momentum. The waning moon does the opposite. It draws inward. It asks you to let go of what you've been holding. Not forcefully, not all at once, but gently, the way you eventually exhale after holding your breath too long. And when you're in a connection that feels unresolved, when there are things unsaid, feelings unprocessed, a situation that hasn't found its shape yet, a phase like this can feel like someone turned up the volume on all of that, all at once. That's not a warning. That's just what happens when something real lives inside you and the world gets quiet enough for you to hear it. She, and I say she, because that's who this video is specifically for today, though anyone is welcome here, she may notice it in small ways at first, a dream she wakes from and can't fully shake, a song that stops her mid-commute, the urge to reach out, followed immediately by the urge to stay still, the two feelings pushing against each other, and neither one winning. That tension is worth paying attention to, not because it predicts anything, but because it reveals something about where she actually is, emotionally, right now. One of the most misunderstood things about intense soul connections, twin flame or otherwise, is the belief that the emotional turbulence you feel is always caused by the other person. Sometimes it is. Sometimes there's a real energetic sensitivity between two people who share something deep, and shifts in one person do ripple toward the other. That can be true, but it isn't the whole picture, and it's not always the most important part. More often, the intensity you feel in this kind of connection is a mirror of your own interior life. Not a reflection of them specifically, but a reflection of all the things in you that this connection has made impossible to ignore. Let me say that more plainly. When you love someone, really love someone, the kind that gets under your skin and doesn't let you be comfortable with half-truths about yourself, that love acts like a spotlight. It doesn't just illuminate them, it illuminates you, your fears, your attachment style, the things you need that you've never quite asked for directly, the stories you've been telling yourself about love and worth and deserving. And during a waning moon phase, when the world goes quieter, and internal life gets louder, all of that comes forward. So if you're feeling emotional right now, the first question worth sitting with isn't, what is this telling me about them? The first question is, what is this showing me about myself? That's not a detour. That's the actual path. I want to be honest with you here, even if it's not what you came looking for. Not every emotional spike is a sign. Not every wave of longing is confirmation that reunion is near. Not every moment of clarity means the universe is orchestrating something on your behalf. Sometimes, and this is worth really sitting with, sometimes what you're feeling is grief, pure and simple. The grief of loving someone and not being with them in the way you want. The grief of waiting, of uncertainty, of having given so much of your inner life to a connection that may or may not look the way you hoped it would. Grief doesn't always look like crying. Sometimes it looks like restlessness or obsessive analysis or the exhausting loop of trying to interpret every small sign as proof that things are moving in the right direction. And in the twin flame community specifically, there is a pattern I think deserves honest acknowledgement. The tendency to spiritualize pain instead of feeling it. It's understandable. Genuinely, when something hurts this much, meaning helps. The idea that it's all happening for a reason, that the separation is sacred, that the suffering is purposeful, that framing can bring real comfort. It can help you breathe. But it can also become a way of avoiding the harder question, what if I need to grieve this? What if I need to accept where things actually are, not where I wish they were? This is not me telling you to give up on anything. This is me asking you to be honest with yourself about what you're actually feeling. Underneath the interpretation, underneath the spiritual framework, just the raw human feeling, because that is where real healing lives, not in the signs, in the truth. There is something that happens in deep soul connections that feels like clarity, but is sometimes something else entirely. You've probably experienced it, a sudden knowing, a flash of certainty. They're thinking of me right now. Something is about to change. I can feel them coming back. And the feeling is so vivid, so real, that it seems impossible it could be wrong. Sometimes those feelings are right. Human intuition is real. Emotional attunement is real. There are people who have felt something shift and then watch the outer world confirm it. But sometimes, and this requires honesty, what feels like clarity is actually the mind doing what it does when it's in pain. It's creating narrative, constructing a story that offers hope, because hope is more bearable than uncertainty. The psychological term for this is projection, not projection in the harsh, accusatory sense, but in the quieter, more human sense. We project onto the future what we desperately want the present to become. We feel the wish so intensely that it starts to feel like information. So, how do you know the difference? Here's one way to check. When you sit with the feeling, not in excitement, but in stillness, does it bring you peace? Or does it bring you urgency? Does it make you feel settled in yourself? Or does it make you want to do something, say something, interpret something, seek confirmation? Real clarity, in my experience, tends to be quiet. It doesn't need you to act immediately. It doesn't make you anxious. It just lands and stays. Projection, on the other hand, tends to need feeding. It wants you to watch more videos, read more signs, seek more confirmation that what you're feeling is real. It keeps you reaching. Pay attention to which one you're in right now. Not with judgment, just with honesty. Here is something that tends to confuse people deeply during this kind of lunar phase. Some of you watching this might not be feeling intense longing right now. You might actually be feeling the opposite. A strange sense of distance, like the feeling you normally have about this person has quieted down. Like you can think of them without the ache, and instead of feeling like freedom, It's making you panic, wondering if you've lost the connection, if you're giving up, if the love is fading. It isn't. Detachment is not the end of love. It is sometimes the beginning of something more sustainable. When you stop needing the connection to look a certain way in order to feel okay, when you can hold it without gripping, that is not loss. That is growth. Painful, disorienting growth, but growth. The waning moon is actually a natural time for this kind of quiet loosening. Things that were held tightly begin to ease. The grip you didn't even realize you had on an outcome, on a timeline, on a version of this person you've built inside your mind, it softens. And in the softening, you might feel empty for a moment, like something was taken, nothing was taken. Space was created. On the other side of this, some of you are feeling the opposite, more activated, stronger feelings, not quieter ones, old memories surfacing, old wounds opening, and you might be interpreting this as a sign that you're going backwards, that all the work you've done hasn't mattered. But here is what I want you to consider. Sometimes the deepest healing looks, temporarily, like reopening. An old wound that surfaces doesn't always mean it was never healed. It can mean it's ready to be healed completely, at a level it wasn't ready for before. The question is not, why is this happening again? The question is, what do I now have the capacity to understand about this that I didn't before? That's a completely different question, and it leads somewhere much more useful. Let's go a little deeper. Because one of the most valuable things a phase like this can do, if you're willing to let it, is show you the patterns you've been living inside of without quite realizing it. The pattern of waiting for someone else to move before you allow yourself to feel okay. The pattern of tying your sense of self-worth to whether or not this connection comes together in the way you've imagined. The pattern of interpreting silence as rejection and presence as proof of love, without examining whether either interpretation is actually accurate. These patterns didn't start with this connection. They probably started much earlier, in the relationships that shaped you before you were old enough to choose, in the moments when love felt conditional or unpredictable, or like something you had to earn. The intense soul bond, whatever form it takes in your life, has a way of bringing those earliest wounds forward, not to torture you, but because they're the things that most need your attention. The things that, if you can see them clearly and meet them with compassion, will change not just this connection, but the way you move through every relationship. So during these coming days, as the moon wanes and things rise to the surface, I want to gently ask you, what is the oldest version of this feeling? The longing, the uncertainty, the waiting. When did you first feel this? Not with this person, before them, because that is where the real work is. That is where the real tenderness needs to go. Here is perhaps the most important thing I'll say today. Whatever is moving in you right now, whatever is surfacing, loosening, aching, clarifying, the primary location of that shift is you, not the connection, not the other person, not the universe arranging outer circumstances on your behalf. And that is not a diminishment. That is actually the most empowering thing I can offer you, because it means you don't have to wait for anyone else to do anything in order for something real to change. The shift happening within you, the increased sensitivity, the emotional clarity, the surfacing grief, or the unexpected peace, that is not about them right now. It's about who you are becoming. The version of you that has lived through this uncertainty and stayed. The version that has asked hard questions about love and not run from the answers. The version that is slowly, quietly, learning what it means to love without losing yourself. That version of you is more powerful than any sign, any synchronicity, any reading, because she is real, she is here, and she is the one who gets to decide what comes next. Not the moon, not the connection, her. So what do you actually do with all of this? Because I know it's one thing to hear beautiful ideas about inner work and emotional honesty. It's another to be lying awake at 2 a.m. with your heart doing something confusing, wondering how to get through the next few days without spiraling. So here is some genuinely practical guidance. First, notice without interpreting. When you feel something, longing, peace, activation, grief, just notice it. You do not have to immediately figure out what it means about the connection. Let it just be a feeling. Feelings are allowed to exist without being decoded. Second, stay in your body. When emotions get intense, the mind tends to go up and out, into analysis, into fantasy, into interpretation. The antidote is to come back down, drink water, move your body, go outside, touch something with texture. These are not spiritual bypasses. They're grounding mechanisms that keep you anchored in the present, where your actual life is happening. Third, be careful with seeking. If you notice yourself going from video to video, reading to reading, looking for confirmation of what you feel, pause. That is a signal that you're trying to outsource your internal knowing to an external source. The information you most need right now is not in another reading, it's in a quiet moment alone with yourself. Fourth, write it down, not to analyze, just to release. What are you feeling? What are you afraid of? What do you actually want if you remove the story about twin flames entirely? What do you want for your own life, your own peace, your own heart? Write it. It changes something to see your own truth on a page. Fifth, don't make any decisions from an emotionally activated state. If you feel the urge to reach out, to cut contact, to make a declaration, wait. Let a few days pass, let the intensity settle, then see if the impulse still feels true. It might. But let it earn that trust by surviving a moment of stillness. I want to leave you with this. You came here today, probably, because something in you recognized itself in the title. Something is happening, emotionally, internally, and you wanted to understand it, to feel less alone in it. I hope you feel less alone now, but I also want to offer you a different kind of hope than what this genre of content often promises. Not the hope of reunion by a certain date, not the hope of a specific outcome, but the hope that comes from knowing yourself well, the hope that lives in emotional clarity, the hope that is built slowly and quietly by becoming someone who doesn't need a sign to know that they are worthy of love, because they have already become someone who offers it to themselves. That is the real transformation that a phase like this makes possible, not in the connection, in you. The waning moon asks us to release, and maybe what's being released right now isn't the connection itself, but the version of you who needed it to look a certain way in order to feel whole. That version of you was never broken. She was doing the best she knew how to do. But there is a version of you on the other side of these next few days who knows something she didn't know before. Trust that. Trust her. She is already here.